Bro, you better come with it today.
I don't have any idea of what to expect, but
You've
it will
already
be
seen
authentic.
people authentic. Yeah, that's what matters right there the most.
Okay.
All right, anyways, we're kicking this off. I'm going straight to it. Today I'm with my boy Dewan, aka Dewanathan, aka the man with the plan, aka he got money, aka he's always tired according to him, but I don't believe it. Let me tell you something interesting. We're gonna talk fatherhood, we're gonna talk finance, and we're gonna talk the future, all F's.
All F's.
On friends and work. I just made that up right now.
I like the alliteration though.
Bro,
I like that's why you're here.
And while you're here, my man, I remember the first time you took me to your office. You don't even remember this.
I don't.
Downtown Houston, you had just gotten, I think the day before, you had just gotten a plaque at your space. I don't know if it was a cubicle. I don't know what you call it. Anyways, you had just gotten a plaque for landing a 8-figure deal with the oil and gas company. Do you remember that?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Okay. See, the fact that he's doing over $20 million deals and he doesn't even remember it is nothing to him is exactly why we need to talk to him today. I'm with my guy, Dewan. Here, no, not screw the team effort, screw all that. You're getting the credit today. Dewan, walk me through your career. How did you arrive to that place?
Okay.
And why did you come to Houston for school as opposed to going anywhere else in the world?
All right, that's a lot to start with. So, how far back do you want me to go?
Brother, you can go wherever you want.
Okay.
The journey all accumulates to whatever you're doing today.
Yeah. So career. I mean, that in itself was a journey that started not in where I ended up, but I guess to start off school wise. My dad in our family was the first one to go to college, and he started college, enlisted into the Air Force, went back to college, finished, and then he did the Air Force Academy after that. So anyway, that was the only blueprint I had outside of him saying, "You're going to college. I'll help pay for the first 4 years, and after that, you're gonna have to figure it out." So a very defined timeline of I'm not switching majors. I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna finish this out. Anyway, I always just liked the idea of business because it sounded like a stable major to get into. I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
But I knew that I liked math. Numbers made sense to me. And so that's kind of what I pursued. So anyway, I came to Houston from San Antonio.
Weak.
Yep. But I didn't enjoy being in San Antonio because there's one sports team, and I was trying really hard not to be a Spurs fan at that time, which is sacrilegious in San Antonio.
100%.
It's unacceptable. I mean,
one
I remember
of the best sports cities in the world with only one major sports team.
Yeah. And so I am a Spurs fan now, and I became one. But at the time, I was like, no, man, I can't do this. I got to get to a bigger city. I need some, more diversity. I need more than one sports team to root for. And I visited University of Houston's campus with some of my friends, and immediately I was like, this will do. This will work. It's far enough away, close enough, though still, I really like the city of Houston. So anyway, I came here. It's a long way of getting to career path. But anyway, so I ended up majoring in finance. One, because there's a weed out class for accounting, kind of I forgot who, somebody else was talking about maybe the first real chemistry class you have to take is a science major, but accounting has the equivalent of that. And I remember just being I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, I'm trying to sweet talk the teacher into giving me letting me withdraw from the class instead of giving me the actual grade. And it was at that time I was like, I'm just going to pivot over here to finance. Anyway, so going back to my dad being first in college. So he didn't have a blueprint outside of you just need to go to college, you need to finish, you need to get a job. So in my mind, those were just the steps of you go to college, you finish, you get a job. I didn't realize that these other people were getting internships because maybe that would help you to figure out something, afterwards, or you maybe even just place yourself. And so I did the illustrious career of refereeing intramural sports through school. Illustrious, because it built character.
Yeah.
I got sharp robot skills, out of it. Did it help me in my career in pursuing my degree in finance? No. So upon graduation, I realized oh man, nobody's lining up to give me a job. I need to go maybe find something. So anyway, I luckily ended up finding something that, and finance is kind of one of those degrees where it's like you say you're an artist. What does that mean? Do you do graphic images? Do you play music? Do you color?
Yeah.
You know, and so it was one of those things where, you know, same thing. A degree doesn't necessarily give you experience or, you know, anything like that. Long story short, I ended up working for a private bank that packaged mortgage-backed securities. And how mortgage-backed securities became like, you know, a big thing was, I don't know if you know, around 2008 or so.
Yes, that's the first thing I thought about when you just said that.
There was this big thing called the financial crisis that was set off by
Do I remember
these mortgage-backed securities. I don't know how young the audience may be. I mean, it's just
You're right.
you know.
You're right. You're right. That was a good move.
So that was my job, and so I graduated, date myself again, but in 2006, I did that job for 2 years because it was the only job that I had an offer for, and I was just going to be as great as I could at it. And the entire world and market and mortgages fell apart, just disintegrated overnight. And so it was at that time I was like, man, I probably need to find, you know, another job path or, you know, something else to do, but not realizing that was the only expertise I had. So I had a really, really hard time even just getting companies to look at my resume and my skills or even just trying to pivot. And I always, you know, really wanted to be in, you know, on the finance and the banking side of things, you know, making corporate deals and just kind of thinking bigger. Yeah, and so it was a hard time. But the only way that I could find to really, I guess, pivot from that was really to go back to school because anybody will accept students. But if you're in the workforce and you only have a certain set of skills, then that's kind of what defines the area that you're able to go into.
Yep.
So long story short, I ended up going back and getting my MBA at the University of Houston.
Yes, you did.
That's right, go Cougs. They've got a great program geared toward
Bauer
energy.
or Bauer.
Bauer.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was close.
Okay.
It's got a U. It's got a lot of vowels in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but I ended up getting my MBA from there, focusing on like energy finance, which again is broad. But what that helped me do.
Duh.
Yeah, it's but it helped because.
Bro, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I mean,
did.
this totally makes sense in real time, but at the time, that makes sense. Okay, keep going. I love this moment. I love learning stuff about my friends where I'm like, that's what you were doing. That's why energy made sense.
It kind of puts things in perspective.
I was way in South Texas when the oil boom happened, like right after the crisis. I mean, we're still in the crisis, but Texas didn't know that. But that totally makes sense. So even the only reason why I came back to Houston is because I couldn't find a job in San Antonio, and I had already quit the oil, and I didn't want to be out in the middle of nowhere fracking on building oil pads anymore. But when I came to Houston, oil was king. Yeah, over here, like. Whether it's accounting, finance, management, whether it's HR, so many multi-level, so many positions, bro, just around the oil industry. I didn't really know that. So to have a degree, MBA with an emphasis on energy, I didn't even know you could do that.
Well, I think the schools smartly found out too that, I mean, that's in demand, and especially, you know, Houston, the alumni group is more so around the city of Houston.
For sure.
And so it just made sense. And so, so for me, I was like, well, I've got to make this transition. And so faced with the same thing, though, like there are people in grad school who get internships. And at first I was like, look, I'm not working an internship because I need to get paid. I didn't realize that graduate internships are mostly paid. But just really feeling the need to find a way into something else. And so I quit my mortgage-backed security job happily. But at the time, I was newly married. It was me and my wife. And I was like, babe, you're gonna have to hold it down.
Yeah.
And she was happy to, because she knew, you know, it was in pursuit of something that, you know, I wanted to do. I, you know, was spending time, energy, and just couldn't find a way. And she was just super supportive. So she was my sugar mama for like 2.5 years as I navigated grad school and finding.
Shout out Aisha.
That's right. Finding random different jobs. So through the course of that, I worked at NASA for a little bit. I worked at a natural gas trading company for a little bit. And then after that, after I got my degree in finance, I started as in a financial analyst rotational program with where I am now, Wells Fargo. And so I got to kind of do a rotation around different areas of all around energy. So it was, you know, like you mentioned, like on the fracking side. So I worked in oil field services, financing like drilling rigs or the frack crews, the pressure pumping and coil tubing units. I worked in
Bro, I didn't know you knew all that, bro. That's crazy.
I've been around the block a little bit.
Bro, that's wild.
And then I also, so it was also in like upstream. Anyway, everything around the energy industry, basically in like a 2 to 3 year period, I kind of rotated around, and then you kind of find like a subspecialty in that, and then you work in that. So I did the analyst rotation. I went into as what's called like an associate. So I did that for a little while. And then we'll get into later, but I had some stalls and some difficulties in the middle part of my career. And I was stuck in one position for a good amount of time. And then the current group that I'm into now started about 6 years ago. I was employee hire like number 4. They're just trying to build this thing out, series of crazy events. Somebody referred somebody who said, hey, you should, talk to Dewan. And it ended up working out. And I, just came in like a Band-Aid. Like, I'll do whatever you need. I'll fix whatever problems you got. Like, just give me something to do. But from there, I've been there for the last maybe 5 years, and it's just been on an accelerated growth path from there. So now, I guess, career path-wise, I'm the executive director.
Don't say no names, company names. We don't no free shout-outs around here. Yeah, the company that I'm in.
For a certain segment that basically focuses on commodity products, so oil, gas, energy, metals, gold, and silver, and then agricultural products, so coffee, cocoa, sugar, stuff like that. But yeah, I'll stop there. That's general enough, maybe.
Bro, that's wild. I didn't know. Did you ever do like site visits to like client village? Why am I fumbling words today?
You good?
Did you ever do client visits like on site?
I did a lot. We financed a helicopter company that would take people from onshore to their offshore drilling rigs.
Yes, yeah.
And I really wanted to do that. I didn't get to, but I did lots of on-sites of just like oil platforms and, literally, like I said, like the pressure pumping crews. But anything around the oil field and oil services, I got to see and do, which was interesting.
I never knew that, bro.
I didn't know that you were out on the frac pads either.
Yeah. I work for a company that used to do the excavation, the construction.
Yeah.
The oil field construction services.
That's hard work.
It is. I mean, I wouldn't like operating machinery or anything. It was fresh. I mean, I did an internship for my friend's dad's company that they were just kind of starting like 2010-ish. They've always, it's a small town down in South Texas. Me and him play football together. So me and the family became tight over the course of 4 or 5 years at school. So then he was telling me like, you could just come down here and just screw around, honestly. And he was like, you can put your resume under the legitimate company because you're learning stuff. And then when I went back to school, I graduated the next year, they offered me.
Okay.
So it was, the offer was so cool that even like the day I graduated, I found out that I failed my math test.
Oh, no.
Yeah, bro. It's a whole thing attached to it. That's how HCC came down the line later on, but I failed the math test. I actually was not graduating, but I had already had a job at this oil excavation company, bro.
Yeah.
So this is like August 12th, if I'm not mistaken. August 13th, August 14th, I got to show up for day one. But I'm like, hey, guys, I really don't have my degree. And they didn't care. The boom was booming.
Okay. So
the oil boom at that time, oh, my gosh. I saw like real in time what it would be like for a normal family in a small town that has cows in a small ranch to just be like, literally, like, what's this sappy stuff coming out the earth? Really? Like, literally, bro. Like, what is this? Like, something's going on with the soil thing. Then they get a geologist out there and they say, sir, you are sitting on a gold mine right now. Then they get the the physics, they get all the people in, and they basically make an offer that family cannot pass up. So I was on that side of like normal people owning a hardware store overnight.
Wow.
They got Escalades, Lambos, in the country on dirt roads, straight up.
That's how you know you have money, right?
Bro, there is so much money in some of these small towns that people just don't know living in a big city, bro.
Yeah.
People, like, that's why you see these Netflix shows, like, why did they hit a helicopter in the middle of nowhere? Like in South Carolina or Virginia or Mississippi. Like, who puts a plane strip in the middle of nothing? It was like that. Some places were definitely like that because they're making it's like so much money a day per barrel at that.
And just like into perpetuity,
and it just, and at the time, they used to say frack, baby, frack.
Right.
They used to, bro, we're getting it all out. So
can we go back though to, hold on. So I feel like I have ongoing nightmares about what you just described about your degree. Like,
Yeah.
in the middle of the night, I'm like, man, I forgot that one class that I didn't finish my final for. Like that's surprising and hard.
I mean, I knew it was 50-50.
Did when you took it?
Oh, for sure, bro.
Like-
100%. And it was
Okay.
summer. So it wasn't like it was the spring
Right.
Mays coming up, the big
But
graduation.
you'd already walked across the stage and graduated.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Because you don't know. Finals in August is the weird one. The
No, that's
summer,
true. We
the
can
summer,
go either earlier or
yes, it's like right around like you just did summer 1, summer 2. You gotta walk. Grades aren't due to the following week.
Oh my gosh.
So August is always the weird. It's not like May and December where it's like finals are over, graduation is like in a week and a half.
Right.
August is like it's right then and there. Like, so I knew this is 50-50, brother. I went in there praying, Father, what's the answer? Give me the answer, Lord.
Yeah.
I don't know PEMDAS, Lord. Would you breathe on what I'm doing? Anoint my hands, bro. It was 50-50. And I've always been terrible at math. So I knew, and I had already took algebra like 3 times.
Yeah.
So this wasn't my first rodeo by no means, but I knew it was the only thing I needed to officially
Graduate.
stamp my degree, which is why I went into oil and gas anyways. I tried it. They didn't have online classes, but that's when I did the social entrepreneurship pitch competition.
Yeah.
Preoccupied started on accident.
Okay.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
So none of that was planned, bro. I was in oil and gas.
Yeah, I knew parts of that, but I don't think I've ever heard it put together.
Yeah.
That's also
It was 50-50 shot. So I knew like this may not go well. But I
it's
already
gonna
got a
be okay.
job. Like I
Yeah.
literally have a job, and what am I gonna do? Be like,
right.
and at the time, it was frack, baby, frack. We'll figure it out later. Get
Right.
here. We need you. We need you now.
Yeah.
And I was doing like a bunch of safety stuff, all that, implementing new plans and processes because they were just winging it, bro. And it was going so fast, and nobody wanted to miss the work opportunity.
Right.
'Cause these opportunities are a lot of money that they never saw as a company. So
Yeah. I think it's interesting too that it's like despite the craziness and maybe for both of us and happy to speak on it later, but like the meandering and like I don't know how this is supposed to work out. Like you somehow still end up benefiting and getting some things from, what happened to where you ended up, I guess.
and I don't like that, Dwan.
No.
No.
I don't think anybody likes it in the moment, but I think I definitely have had moments in my life where I thought this is where I need to go and I don't understand why I'm not going this way. To be stuck or in something that I don't like, I don't want to do, but later looking back and being like, that really helped out. Like that was
You know what? I'm glad we arrived here because I want to talk to you about this because this is both my frustration, but also my, how do I be like that? And this isn't personal. Hear me out. I feel like you, Andy Reid, for sure Andy Reid, and I told this, we talked about this on here by all means. Barry, you go to an extent, but he's a unicorn. I feel like I really want to be like you guys.
in what sense?
Because career-wise, because your career has been so, it seems like, not that it's effortless, but it's like just doing the next thing in front of you. Or responding to hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
Responding to the next email
Yeah.
or the next opportunity, or someone said, hey man, I really think you'd be amazing for this job or this opportunity, whatever. And they think of you, they send you the opportunity. And I feel like not that it's effortless, not that you didn't have to put in the work, but I want it to be like y'all in entrepreneurship. And it hasn't worked that way. It's been I know you about to go off. You can hey, listen.
Not off. I have comments.
You can give your comments when it's time, but I just feel like, bro, like even talking to Andy was like, he puts in the work. I don't want to want to make it sound like y'all didn't do anything and it just came to you all of a sudden. No, that'd be crazy. You wouldn't be referred the opportunity if you weren't proven on the level that you were already outputting.
Yeah.
But when I think about, excuse me, when I think about you guys career-wise, which I don't even know because I just found out you were in energy. So I'm lying to myself for sure. But outside looking in, bro, it's like y'all are just consistent, bro. Just consistent every day at doing that thing. And you don't need like this overhaul of a life or a career in order to feel like you're having an impact. It's like stuff that most people would say that's kind of boring, which Andy did correct me in a lot of ways. Yeah. Like, I thought bro was with his briefcase at the courthouse all the time.
Every day.
Yeah. Like, solve it, let's solve some stuff. Let's get this thing going. But Andy was like, I'm lucky if I do that 5 times a year. Yeah. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just working on really boring stuff 99% of the time. But when I do get to do that, I absolutely love it. But that's not my reality. So I get it. I'm a little bit skewed, but I feel like there's a special place for people who aren't overly charismatic and their job doesn't depend on their charisma, their personality, their ability to integrate and work with people, but motivate and influence them to the other side too. I feel like y'all have a special place of just saying, it's just work. And this work does not determine my value or what my family got going on. Yeah. And maybe that's because my journey has been majority entrepreneurship and you get out what you put in, buddy, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think you get out what you put in too, but it's just different. And I feel like in J-Tap's another one. There it is, J-Tap, Andy Reid, DeJuan,
I don't
Barry.
know if you can put all those together.
Shout out to all my bros. I love y'all. This is no hate. This is no shade. I'm trying to be like you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like, bro, it's like consistent, methodical. It's up and to the right. I'm not saying all of your life is that. But when in regards to career, bro, it just feels like it comes a lot easier to y'all. And I talked to Andy about this. I feel like a jack of all trades, a master of none.
Yeah.
I feel like y'all have become masters at one thing and one thing well. You are not cutting the grass, painting the house. You're not doing you're not trying to be the best at a bunch of things. And I feel like y'all learned that. All right, bro.
I'm gonna let you finish.
All right, go, bro. Go, bro.
I'm gonna let you finish.
No.
No,
Go ahead.
I mean, I think to a degree, I think that has truth in it. I think Andy would admit that for him, like a lot of things he said, which was a great podcast, by the way, too. And I learned a lot about him. But I think that's perspective, right? Almost like when you see, I don't know, maybe cousins or whenever people see my kids, they're always like, "Oh man, he gotten so big." Like, yeah, but you weren't there when he ate crayons, spiders, magnets, and all these other things. You just kind of like, yeah, like. He's handsome. He looks like his dad. That's fine. No, but I mean, I would say I think that's a perspective. But I think for me, and I'd say for others that you named as well, it wasn't always easy or up and to the right. I've had some life-changing career things that at the end of the day worked out, but in the 4 or 5 years in between were just brutal and just. I'm praying David prayers of God, please kill them.
All of my enemies, Lord.
Just one fire. I don't even need a whole bunch. But but there's things I think everybody has to go through, right? Like everybody goes through that phase of just like, how do I get here? And I don't even know if I have like a desired place I'm going to go.
How long does the phase last, brother?
Sometimes,
Anyways, but go ahead.
Always longer than I think you want. And that's to my point too of, that the ways that we sometimes think are the way out, whatever. I just need to change jobs. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to, pivot, which maybe not to the same degree as entrepreneurship. But I mean, I think the same of just like, we all want to be satisfied. We all want to feel that we're fulfilling some purpose or some calling.
That's true.
And I think if your day-to-day isn't reflecting or feeding that you feel like you're wasting your life.
100%.
And I have felt that way several times and tried to get out and, had long, hard conversations with my wife or just tried to do career pivots that made sense at the time, but ultimately, like, it wouldn't have been beneficial at all. So one instance, for example, when I mentioned there was a 5-year period where I was just stuck. I was just stuck. I didn't like what I was doing. I did not enjoy the management style of the people that I was with. They couldn't remember my name, so they just kept calling me Morpheus over a 5-year period. Or just stuff. But just being like, Lord, like, why? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? There's no way out. I'll do anything. And in my mind is a way for me to feel like, okay, well, I've got to ascribe some value to myself. How do I do that? Going after like Wall Street jobs or like hedge fund jobs or trying to be like, this is what I need to get out.
Yeah.
But also not realizing that it would require me to work 100 hours a week. I got 2 kids. Like it wouldn't work out. But in my mind, it was like, this is what I need. Like, why am I not getting opportunities to do it? Or anything else? But at the end of the day, not stumbling into it, but like ultimately finding something that is what I needed, even though I didn't know it was. But also the growth that came from those hard times and those frustrating times and the times when stuff doesn't feel good, it's not working out, and you're just trying to find, one step in front of the other, realizing that it sounds cliche, but like a lot of that prepared me for ultimately what I was going to get into.
Yeah.
But also, like, some of the trauma from that period too carried over as well. Because it's like, man, you're being nice to me. Like, I don't understand how to navigate in this, Like, opportunities are now coming when they weren't. But being able to hold the weight of that is mainly determined by the struggle that you went through in between.
Brother, the weight.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you about fatherhood. But before we get there, the weight. How do you stay faithful to the process, bro? 4 or 5 years? You didn't say 4 or 5 months.
No, it was.
Now listen, I'm around the young people today, and I know we're millennials, but some of the Gen Z and the conversations I'm having, like related to work, 4 or 5 years is insanity.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
People would never. You got my name wrong for 4 years? I'm taking you to small court. This is about to be a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So like, bro, how do you feel the weight of that? You're having more kids during that period.
That is true.
You have responsibilities.
Yes.
You're probably moving a little bit. Like, there's so many moving parts, bro. How do you, this is for me.
Yeah.
I ain't talking to them. This is for me. Like, how do you keep yourself positive through that, bro? And then also know, the bigger picture. And I'm sure the bigger vision is what held you down and made you say, I don't need to jump ship. I don't need to go to Wall Street. We don't need to move to New York City or something like that. Like, how did you manage that, bro?
I tried all of those things. It just didn't work out. No, I mean, it was, no, but for real. I remember I came home one day and I was like, hey, look, there's a position open in Chicago or Austin. Like, which one of those two do you want to go to? And my wife looked at me and she was like, what? We're not moving. And I was like, please.
Oh my gosh.
But no, I mean, I think aspects of the bigger picture, and maybe this is more rooted in faith of even though I was miserable, wasn't being treated great, and nobody appreciated anything I was doing, I still had a responsibility to work as unto the Lord, right? And so I couldn't just be like, well, forget you guys, I'm just gonna do the worst I can. I still had to be excellent and do things in that, and I learned things that I could use from there. But no, man, I tried everything I could to get out. I would be applying for everything all the time, and I would get literally to the point of negotiating a salary with. This happened 5 or 6 times, and literally they just ghost me,
bro.
After 4 or 5 interviews,
That'd be my life.
It was just insane, and so I knew that hopefully it was God, not the enemy, was trying to prepare me, or just trying to get me to somewhere. But I was like, I just want out. I'll sell maple syrup on the corner.
He said, hopefully it's God, bro. That's how I feel. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah,
is this God or the devil?
I don't know, but I think the responsibility is still to do the best that you can in whatever it is you're in. I don't think it's necessarily you just oh man, I'm just gonna stay here and just take this punishment. But it's there. I don't know. There's something in it that you can still learn. You can get out. It comes down to character. I think at that point that it's building character in you, which isn't developed in easy times.
100%.
Right. It's developed in those hard times when you've got to make a decision that you don't see it at the time, but again, 4 or 5 years later, it's that worked out.
Absolutely.
I'm really glad that I didn't do the thing that I was pursuing, trying to do. And now I see how it's all kind of coming together. So I don't know. I mean, I think nobody wants to embrace the struggle, right? But I think that's just all of us in life. I don't think anybody has everything easy, whether it's on the family side or the career side. But I think you have to learn how to embrace hard situations and tasks. And it's got to grow you. And it's not fun. It's like praying for patience, right? You know not to do that.
No, I don't do that no more.
But you need it.
Yeah, I know for sure.
So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question.
That
but
100% answered my questions. And I don't pray for patience no more. That scares me. I feel like I pray for patience and my world come crashing.
Yep.
With things that make me very impatient.
Yeah. But let me ask you this before you pivot too much. But I mean, so even as an entrepreneur, which seemingly is so much harder than us people living in the regular world. But in that, if you were to see who you are and the things you've learned from entrepreneurship now, as opposed to maybe when you started, if you would have immediately gotten what you were desiring, do you feel you'd be in a position to know what it would look like to be successful, I guess, as an entrepreneur now?
I hate that I'm answering that.
Yeah.
That way, but no. There's no way. Like the stuff that I've had to get creative with when you do not have, whether that's people, whether that's finance, whether that's resource and partners and stuff like that. No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
There's no way if I got it in day one, there's no way I would have the experience or the wisdom or the ability even to the muscle like finding out or figuring it out.
Yeah.
That's a muscle all by itself. I don't think. No.
Yeah, I think your question's interesting too because you mentioned like the making it, right, like the promised land. But I don't think I know for myself I haven't made it. You know, there's still things I aspire to learn and to do and grow. And who knows? I probably won't be where I am forever. But I think Andy and anybody else would answer the same of like I don't think you ever get the sense of like I've made it, right?
For sure.
Like there's always something else that hopefully that you're growing towards, or I think somebody would say like your reach always extends your grasp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you're always trying to reach or change for something else. So I think it's just phases, you know. Kind of like
it is phases, but I do, and I agree with everything you're saying. but I do think that y'all operate with a unique contentment, and it's not delusion either.
Yeah.
Like y'all are content. You're just content, bro. It doesn't mean you're stacked. It doesn't mean like you're not ambitious.
Yeah.
Or you
hear what you're
lack drive.
Right.
But like, if today is June, whatever, you're here today. I am very hardwired for like 10 days ahead.
Yeah.
I got to the point now, me and Gabby talk, Gabby's my wife, about like the max I can do now in planning is like 2 months, 8 weeks. 8 to 10 weeks.
That's a long time.
Bro, I used to be 2-3 years out.
Wow.
You see, what is that calendar? You see the calendar?
I do see it. And that has sticky notes on it too, which that means to me that's authentic. Like you got sticky notes on it. That means you invested.
This whole thing by the end of today is going to be full through September.
Really?
And it goes all the way to mid next year.
Yeah, I got tomorrow.
So, brother, so like you go from like planning like a year and a half out of where I see the direction of my life going in the vision to like 2 weeks, brother. That's all I got. I don't know. Let's think about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it when we get there. Well, let's just talk about it on Saturday. So part of that is I know I've been working on my relationship with control. Yeah. I've been working on my relationship with calling it a vision, but then also saying like, nah, this is just something you really want.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But you got to be okay if you don't get it too. I'm not. I'm not. It is my money and I need it now. Whatever that commercial would say. So I've had to learn a lot of things internally, but I just really admire my bros. Shout out to y'all. This is not hating. I love that. My bros, especially Andy, especially you, really. There's a handful of people that I just watch. I just look at. On Sundays, different days, and I just wonder, like, I wonder what he's thinking about right now. He looked like he doesn't care. He's just here, bro. You're just here, and you're just happy to be here. You're not thinking about the 50 things that I'm thinking about, the emails that I have to send. Oh gosh, is this client going to write a review?
Yeah.
Is it like it's just so much more? But I understand, and I'm saying I appreciate that about you guys.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that you appreciate this. I think some of that's compartmentalization. As we'll get to in a bit.
True.
I have a lot of things in my family that consume my brain from moment to moment. So I think about work when it's time to think about work, because otherwise it just gets overwhelming to think about the different dynamics of who I need to be and when and what my concerns should be, because it just, that's just how my brain works. But,
and my life is a mosh pit too. I will say that too. Both me and my wife work from home. We do homeschool. Like everything, meetings are at home. It's a computer. Like you got to transition. You may transition from your office commute to your house. I transition from this office to downstairs. I'm in dad mode, and we're constantly flipping husband mode, wife mode, meeting mode, and we work together on a lot of projects.
That's
so
amazing.
it's constantly integrated, I will say. But I just like how Andy. Shout out to Andy. I'm talking about Andy a lot. J-Tap, and you know more J-Tap than me. For sure.
You should have him on the show, for sure.
I know.
He's got an interesting story.
Come on, J-Tap. Hey, J-Tap, come up on here, man. I'm going to see you this clip. But J-Tap, he's just where he is where he's at.
Yeah.
And I like that, bro. And I like people who are, it's like you just been sharpening your craft in finance. You're not trying to start a plumbing company. You're not trying to hey, this AI is doing great, so let's just start a new AI software for finance people and energy. You're not trying to do all that. You're just sharpening your craft in kind of like a compact, linear way. And I really appreciate that. Does that look like working with people? Does that look like communication? Yeah. It looks like like a lot of stuff. I get that part. But it's all in one lane, bro. And it seems like it doesn't cost fair. You're not losing years on your life because you're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Y'all have a way of just going like, walking with the Lord. My family matters more than all of it anyways. That's what everybody says. And I get that part. But if I don't get this provision in,
right,
the family ain't gonna be well anyways.
Right.
But anyways, I'm moving on
No.
from my rant. And again, shout out to Andy. Shout out to J-Tap. Shout out to Barry. Shout out to Dewan. He's here, but I'm going to give him a shout out anyways. There's somebody else I'm thinking about who I put in. Brian Lemon is probably the president of that.
I don't think any of them would describe that's how their life went. But,
I know. But you have a contentment, bro, with just Jay Ross. Jay Ross is a little bit more charismatic, but he's
just smooth, though.
He's very smooth. Chocolate Brothers. Anyways, fatherhood.
Yeah.
I really want to talk finance, but I'm gonna keep it moving for the sake of our time. Fatherhood. How do you manage it all, bro?
That's a succinct question. I want to be like, manage what? Like I don't, Rob. I survive. No, I survive with intent. I guess is the thing, right?
Just enough.
It's funny. So for information purpose, so I've got 4 boys, 12, 10, 5, and 3. And yeah, it's chaos often, because you just got to go into another brain space. But a lot of it is intentionality. I think some of it obviously is values and resilience. But I think a big aspect of it that you learn is self-sacrifice. Like, I will happily go without or pivot or do something different in order for my kids to be maximized or for them to have an example. But we just do life. I don't know how to describe it other than that. We just, like you and Gabby, like Aisha and I, have a flow that is survival oriented, and and we survive.
Bro, you keep using this word survive.
That is the best.
And maybe that's the thing I need to change in 2025, my perception on how people are doing versus how they actually are doing. Because every time I ask you about stuff like this, you talk about I'm surviving. And I say, well, brother, it looks like you're thriving. And I know looks and what you perceive on the outside is not the same as what's going on. I get that part. But Dewan, well, let's not underestimate the impact that you've had on your kids, on your spouse, on our community of faith, on everyone who knows you, people from work, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform. Let's not minimize the impact that you've had on people. And bro, you're always consistent, bro.
I appreciate that.
So you don't, but you don't produce consistency from being a person who's just trying to survive. You're lying to us right now. So I'm gonna rephrase the question.
Okay,
I'm gonna run it back and I'm gonna ask you again.
All right.
What are some things you do as a father?
Okay.
To help you keep things in balance, and I want to keep it broad like that on purpose because I want you to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, no, that's
you will not over talk on this one.
I don't know. I gotta filter as I talk. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, and you have multiple kids. So for me, when I had 1 kid, I was super overwhelmed. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Had 2, same thing. 3, felt the same way. 4, something broke. I don't know what happened, but it was like, no, my bad. This is hard. But I think, there's an aspect of like adjustment, but also just like the overwhelming sense of always just that you're overwhelmed and you've got to figure it out. But one, I'd say I've got great kids, and as active and as much as I use the word survive, I mean, they help me daily grow in areas I may or may not want to grow in, but they help me do that, and I kind of help them do the same. So I would say one thing is like promoting individuality and unity.
Yeah.
So good. I'm very different from my wife. She is very artistic and smart and brilliant. I can't color within the lines still. To this day, my 5-year-old colors better than I do. And I'm okay with that. I understand. I got different strengths, kid. I ain't trying to challenge you. Don't be talking to me about how much this minion looks better than mine, because it does. Yeah. But I think in that, it's finding the balance between who I am as an individual, imputing what good I feel of that is into my kids and honoring them in that, and also pulling out what I see in them that it's like, hey, that's great. Let's grow that. And hopefully there's enough that kind of interweaves into each other that you can kind of build on. But I mean, honestly, I think that's it. I'm not trying to make my kids mini me's. I'm not trying to make them mini Aishas. I'm not even trying to make them all exactly like each other.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to model for them what it looks like to grow and who they are at the same time as I'm figuring it out on my own. So they've seen to an aspect of me struggling. They've also, like, I've had to apologize to them, which is really hard to do for my generation. My parents didn't apologize to me.
No.
But, you know, it's finding that, like, common way of growth of just, like, helping them shortcut what I feel is, like, you know, either mistakes or things that have held me back, but also letting them be them. So I guess with that, long story short to say, I mean, it's you got to have a framework. Like you said, I think same thing. We've got a family calendar. We have things that, you know, we know have got to get done by certain dates. But it's a framework, and just being able to be fluid, I think, in between that, but still being able to hold to values that are moving you toward that direction. And
Absolutely.
It's a day-by-day thing.
Values. How did y'all develop your values? I'm curious, like family values.
Yeah, so
I know for a lot of brothers who may see this may have never even heard about developing values or something like that, or core beliefs, or here's what we do, we don't do, we do this, we're nice to people, we're not. How did y'all do that? Because I'm entering that now with a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and like really like, okay, we don't do that. Yeah, we do this. Before it was more like Lucy, Alex, but now collectively we've been a lot more intentional. Like, hey. Right. We befriend people. Right. We don't say mean things.
Yeah. And the we is collective we, right?
Collective we, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, man, because I think, I mean, you have to have something consistent, especially for kids. And to your point, it's like, what are we going to do? So I often, when I'm disciplining them, or, you know, we're talking about things, say, bro, we're Bellanese. Like, we don't do that. Yeah. Like, this is not how we act. This is not who we are. And again, that collective we of establishing, though, that this isn't just the standard you're held to. This is us.
I just last week. Yeah. No joke. Was like, hey, we're the Ramirez family. Yeah. I've never said that before.
Right? Like, where did these dadisms come out of?
Bro, I was like, I feel like Carl Winslow. Yeah. Eddie.
Right?
You're a Winslow. That's how I felt, bro.
I mean, I think that's it. But, you know, I think it starts with, I mean, obviously, I had great parents. So did Aisha as well. And I think some of that is, you know, like, I'm sure your mom and your family instilled principles in you that it's like, to this day, like, okay, this is right, wrong. This is, you know, these are things we need to do. But also, I think from the spiritual standpoint of, like, understanding I've got a father who's trying to shape me into his image, but also realizing that on a day-to-day basis,
glory, hey,
on a day-to-day basis, I need more or less shaping, and I don't always do the things I need to do. But I think the biggest thing of having kids is realizing, like, that love of a father, but also but why would you do that? Like, that's not who you are. Right? And then having to sit down and, like, as you're mad and you're thinking about it and your wife tells you, what's the Holy Spirit saying? In a good way. You being like, I did the same thing. Like, all right, let me reframe my thoughts. Let me not necessarily react how I would have been reacted to necessarily when I was a kid. But
completely different.
But I think it's that. I think that's kind of where the principles start. Because you have to, I mean, as believers, there's certain things that we just hold as these are the truths, and this is the standard that I'm going to live my life by. And it's really hard to communicate that in an understandable way to 4 and 6-year-olds. For sure. But I think in doing that, it kind of gets to the core of what is it actually that you believe. You can't use big words. You can't just be like, oh, you know, just because that's what's right. Like, they truly don't understand.
No, they don't.
And then I think the other aspect is consistency in those values. And so for kids, my kids will call out myself and others quickly. But, like, if you're not if you're not being true to, like, basically the standards that you tell them that we are now living by, right? If you do something that opposes that, they'll be like, well, when you know, you were doing this and you and mom were disagreeing, you said, like, bro, don't tell me what I said. Just do what I said to do. Yeah. But I think there's aspects in that too that it just keeps you to be in it. So once the we is established, and it's not just you enforcing the we, but it's ingrained in them, and they're also able to enforce it with their siblings. Which is helpful at times, as well as, you know, them holding you to the same standard,
to an
aspect. that we gains momentum, right? It gains weight. And it's like something heavier that's moving faster is a lot harder to either slow down or divert than it would be if it was just, a pebble or just you. So I think that aspect of family and having family values, or even, setting up how you operate as a family, setting up, family nights, things that you do, that all goes into the core of who are the Ramirez's going to be, who are the Bellinghams going to be. And
that's so
that
good, bro.
being a core that they can always come back to, regardless of what situation they're in. So when they're at school and something crazy happened, but your kid is comforting, a kid that's always been in homeschool and it's his first day at school and he's giving them hugs and walking them to class, and the mom's like, oh my gosh, where did he learn that? So like, I didn't teach him that, but I teach him values to look out for somebody who needs help,
bro.
And it comes out in surprising ways, I think, for kids, because they don't listen, but they hear you.
Absolutely.
And eventually being consistent, I think it seeps in, and it helps them grow and helps you grow. So, again, I don't know if I answered your question.
Bro, that's fire. That's fire. So, family operation, family values, like we are and here's what we do, and more is caught than taught.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of cool, like you just described. It's kind of cool seeing your kid kind of emulate and embody those values and kind of do it. Now, in the moment, when I say
right,
like, hey, don't do this, do
right.
that, you act like you didn't hear me.
Right.
But when it's showtime, when I'm not there, or the teacher gives the update, or even like Sunday, like on Sundays, like Alex did this today, and it's like,
my Alex,
dang, somebody was crying, and you helped them out, you asked them if they wanted a snack, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, man, that's really cool to see. But I think that's dope to hear, and I think the challenge for us men is getting lost in trying to pursue the future. I've had 3 F's. Follow the sermon now. 3 F's: finance, fatherhood, and future.
Yeah.
But we get lost in trying to provide for everyone financially, that it's hard for us to be providing in presents and whatnot.
Yeah.
But what you said, creating values that we operate and live by and embody, is really what kind of helps cast that vision and implement that vision. So what would you say to the guy who's trying to balance? He may not be married, may not have kids, or he may have kids and not be married, whatever circumstance, but he's trying to balance this home part, but then also he's living in a world where work is being disrupted right now with AI, jobs, layoffs, government, tension. Yeah. He may be the only person of color in a room of people who look nothing like him. He's trying to get promotion.
Yeah.
But they refer to him to all the minority type topics. And what do you think about this? So he's already managing a lot of tension.
Yeah.
And he's not present at home. What would you say encouraging to that person who there's dynamic? And also, let me add another layer, because DeJuan's here.
Oh my gosh.
Your kids are changing too.
Yeah.
And your home is changing as well. And if you're not married or have kids, your parents are getting older.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting thing that no one prepared me for. My daddy used to be sharp as a tack. And now here, seeing him think about things over and over, and he can't remember and whatever. How do you manage, bro, the relationship home stuff? But the work side takes a massive amount of energy too, and both are unknown.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think one that's always evolving too. I'd be interested to hear what other people have to say, but I had to think.
Take your time.
No, I think it's nothing's static, right? At home as well as at work, there's always some moving dynamic. So I don't know if you can set a hard, fast rule of, always do this, or always do that. But I think communication is a big thing. So I've had several times where I've had huge things at work to do, and sometimes they would overlap with some big accomplishment. My son's about to get a new Taekwondo belt or something like that. But I think communicating those things and, obviously, I'm going to say you prioritize family, but there are times in your career where there's things that can't be moved around that you need to do that'll have impact going into the future. But I think I try to get ahead of that and communicate it. And because it's not my natural, my modus operandi of putting work above my family, or I'd say it that way. When I do say, hey, I've got to do this is important, I've got to, I'm going to miss something. My family's not like, oh, okay, well, that's just what he does. It's like, there must be something that needs to get done. So go do that for the period of time that you need. So I think there's some grace in it. I think it's really hard to make one hard, fast rule. But I think, again, communication, if you have anybody else, whatever, if you're in a relationship or you have kids or whatever, there's a communication aspect. But I think too, like, I don't know, I'll say like you know when you're at your limit. So to an extent, like you can't prioritize work over everything, and to an extent, don't hear what I'm not saying. You can't always prioritize family over everything else. But you know, there's a fluidity in there.
I got you. Yeah.
That I think just it begs a conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think going back to that core values of like my kids know that I'm on your team no matter what. Whatever you need me to do, like I'm gonna do within reason. And so if I can't be there, I'm gonna talk to you about it. But they also understand like I'm not just saying that and it's not gonna happen every week. It's gonna be something that, you know, okay, well dad told me why I can't be there, but you know, we'll talk about it. We'll do something afterwards. So communication. I think communication's a thing, and I think also to an extent you got to be able to prioritize, but maybe even get input from others on, hey, look, I've got this challenge coming up. I've got something big at home. Got this a job. Like, how would you navigate that? How would you do that? And J-Tap and Brian Lemon and some of those guys are some of the ones I bounce those thoughts off of like, man, like I've got to lock in for the next year at work, you know, which is actually a circumstance now. I'm in this program that I have about a year that I get high visibility and all this stuff, and it comes with side work that I have to do that takes more than my existing job. But just ask them like, hey man, like I've got these two things, you know, I need to do this at home, I need to do this here. Like how would you navigate that? How would you broach the subject? How would you communicate it? And how would you make a decision off of it? So not just trusting myself, but having others around me that I can trust are also professionals that give me good input.
Community.
That's a good word for it. Community,
bro.
Yeah.
You got to have some people to bounce ideas off of.
Absolutely.
And I would say for the person who doesn't maybe have a J-Tap or a Brian who are just friends who are professional as well, I would think, I don't want to say networking because I know that word has a sour connotation attached to it.
Yeah.
But I think going back to what you said, communication, like we have to be more intentional about like building those professional relationships too as well. Where like Margaret was talking about, like I'm not building relationships because I need something from you.
Right.
It's just for the sake of building relationships that are work kind of related and whatnot. Because I know that's a hard thing for a lot of people. They don't necessarily have that.
Yeah.
All their time is either at work or at home, nothing in between, whether it's recreational, whether it's just hobbies, whether it's connecting with old coworkers or colleagues and stuff like that. People don't have that. So I think it goes back to communication, but intentionality.
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah.
We've got to be intentional.
Absolutely.
If we do not sow, we will have nothing to reap. And I know it could be a challenge, but like all of it requires a little bit of your attention.
Yeah.
And I think if we're doing what you said about like communicating ahead of time or trying to plan or prepare as best as we can, I think that puts us in a better position to then build that community. Whether it's just men from your church or somebody you see all the time at coffee shops or people you come across their page on LinkedIn and you just want to drop them a DM.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it starts. I know that's a big struggle for a lot of people in the workspace because a lot of people are just doing it purely for jobs.
Yeah.
Purely for like, you know, who all work here?
Right.
Who all there?
Right. Help me out.
Yeah, help me out. So before you ask for help, I think it should be like, hey, is there anything I can help you with? That's how you get a J-Tap.
That's a good approach.
That's how you get people to vouch for you later on. But like you don't necessarily have to want something in order to connect with people. So appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point.
I got to ask you some random questions.
Okay, what you got?
Overrated or underrated? Getting 8 hours of sleep each night.
Oh, man. I don't know the last time I did, so I'm going to say, I would say underrated, but I'd love to see what it'd be like.
How many hours of sleep are you sleeping on average?
About 6.
You been nuts.
About
Do you crash like on the weekends? Is this like 5 days a week, like normal? Like
it's like 7 days a week. But I imbibe a lot of caffeine. Yeah, this is actually tea, but yeah, I've had a couple espressos this morning. But you know, it's funny. You don't really need 8 hours of sleep. You can really function on less.
Hey, don't you do that? There's some new neuroscience coming out now.
I'm sure there is. I think I don't know. For me, it's there's
That's
only
why
24
you talk
hours.
about survival all the time.
That is probably why. But there's 24 hours. There's a lot of things that are others oriented in my day that takes up a lot of hours, and so in order for me to have discipline or do some of the things that I want to do or be able to build on, it just requires me to cut out like one more hour of sleep. But I'm also a light sleeper. My kids wake up early. I go to bed late. So there's some of that's my own fault. But I've just learned to function on less sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say underrated.
All right, get some sleep though. Next one, underrated or overrated performance reviews.
Oh man, if done correctly, I would say underrated. I've had situations
Contingent upon if.
Contingent upon if. I think 360 reviews are a great idea.
I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, I think you've got to know, like, yeah, you've got to get feedback from above, but I think also from sideways and below as well. That helps you put you in perspective. But I think on the aspect of setting goals and actually learning if you're moving toward fulfilling them at work, like you've got to have some kind of dialogue, even if it's not annual. Having a check-in with your boss where you're getting a review of how they feel you're performing, because you're performing wonderfully.
Yeah.
But if they don't think that, then
we're not on the same page.
You're not on the same page. So I think, under.
Okay, underrated, overrated. A 2 weeks notice.
Oh man, overrated. I don't know if the world works.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I don't know if the world works like that anymore. I just. And maybe Andy will speak on this too, but Texas is at will. So like,
oh, for sure,
you can quit whenever you want to quit. But also, like, I think if you're trying to maintain relations and not burn bridges, like that's a great thing to do. Like, I'm leaving this workplace. I want to leave it happy. All this stuff. I'll give you a 2 week notice. But for some things, it's just like there's another opportunity that is aligned with what I want, and it just may not be working out where you are, and you got to go. They need me to start next week. I'm not going to delay it. So I think underrated.
Next week is crazy.
I think they are overrated.
The one next week.
Hey man, look. Sometimes you just gotta jump,
bro.
When when Elon needs you on that spaceship, on July 1st, I gotta go.
And it's June 30th.
Right. I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. Sorry. Somebody will pick up my shift.
Are you kidding me?
That
man said Elon needs me next week. I'm out of here, to be honest with you.
I do. I think a notice is nice. I think that job, I've seen jobs maybe over the course of COVID and post, not necessarily give employees a notice that they're terminating their job right away. And I think weeks in advance.
Okay, last two, and I'm getting you out of here. Underrated or overrated? Appetizers before the main entree.
Underrated.
What?
Underrated, man. You got to get. Oh no, sorry. You should absolutely do appetizers before the main entree. So
underrated.
Yeah, so it's underrated. Absolutely. I think you absolutely should. I mean, it's explore the menu. I'm one of those people though to be like, what is this? Can't pronounce it. Don't know what it's made out of, but I'll try it. I'll try anything once. It's bit me in the butt a couple times, but most of the time it works out. But yeah, I think appetizers are a must.
Okay.
Separate from your meal. Like you don't need to eat them together. You gotta separate.
So don't bring me the appetizer and the food's coming like 30 seconds after.
Nah. Let me enjoy the appetizer. Give me a palate cleanser afterwards, and then we'll move on to the main course. So
sophisticated.
I really like it.
Gosh, last one. Underrated or overrated? Health insurance premiums.
Oh my gosh. I mentioned I have a family of 6 of us all together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my premiums are high, but get hit by like February because I also have boys who do boy things, and we always
maxing it out.
Deductible hit February. Done. Free health care for the rest of the year. Like,
you just started.
We good. We're good. 3 urgent care trips later. All right, thanks guys, we made it. I mean, I think health insurance is a need just because of how expensive health care is. And if you don't have health insurance, then I just don't understand how you. I mean, it's hard. So I'm gonna say I get the need for health insurance premiums, but they high, and I don't understand why they're so high. But I'm also the curve that's making everybody else's higher, because I have a family premium, and then we use our health insurance the rest of the year. So
yeah, but you're not making it high unless you got like special. Okay, never mind. Underrated health. Are you saying underrated? Everybody had trouble at calling it either or on this one.
Yeah, I'd say underrated.
Like
I see them as part of insurance. You need insurance. The healthcare premiums are what the premiums are. So,
Mr. DeJuan Bellamy, ladies and gentlemen,
thanks for having me.
You killed it.
I don't know about that, but
You
hopefully
absolutely destroyed
amongst
it.
my ramblings, I'm sure that there's something in
You
there that you can
destroyed
tease
it.
out.
You gotta stop saying that. I don't know if that answered your question. You just answered my question 10 times better than my original question.